Hey everybody, Todd Dammit, Kerns here. Once again brought to you by the fine folks at Honer Music, some of the finest instruments in the world. Today, I get to talk to an old friend of mine, a man I've known for 15 years now. Back when he was just this bright, shining light that would come out and step on stage with me and just blow everybody's minds. So when I watched him go off and join the internationally gigantic Five Finger Death Punch, it was no surprise to me that he fit in so well and went on to be what he is today. My dear friend, Chris KAEL.
Perfect.
We're recording. I don't know if you're ready or not. We
I'm
talked a whole bunch of shit about a
always,
lot.
always
Yeah,
ready. Come on, Todd.
I love
Charm's
it.
always going. Always
Exactly.
on.
Boom. Always ready, baby. I
Exactly.
appreciate that. So
Of course,
you've been
man.
good? How's this lockdown thing been?
It has been a series of ups and downs.
You were unshaven in March. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. This is stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's been life changing. Like a lot of changes. Had a breakup over the break. I made the joke in the very beginning that there's going to be a lot of divorces in this COVID pandemic. I didn't realize the breakup was going to be me. A little bit of foreshadowing, but it was good for me.
It's like a steel cage match. You get two people locked in the same place day in, day out. That's not easy.
Yeah, exactly. I see who you're hanging out with in the background. All those guitars. Smart man.
We're still together.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I lost my shit for a little bit, I think, over the break. I mean, obviously I didn't have the band because you can't tour. So I kind of lost my identity there and like my purpose and my drive. And then the breakup happened and I was like, what the fuck is going on with this year? And it's turned out good though. A lot of introspection, a lot of growth. And I have channeled all this stuff into writing. I'd been on my ass like at the beginning of the pandemic, just on the couch, Netflixing, just waiting for things to change and get back out on the road. But at some point, I decided to pull myself up and get back and get back to that drive that I had before that I was kind of neglecting for a little bit. So it's been good.
But you've been inspiring that way because as long as I've known you, and we should point out that we've known each other almost 15 years, probably in some fashion or another. So it's like, and you were always the guy that would show up and you'd get on stage, like before Five Finger, it was like you would get on stage and you had this personality that was, this guy should be a wrestler or a rock star or an action hero. It just had this, you would get on stage and every time you would get up and jam with us at the end of the night, people were like, who was that guy? It's like, I was up there too.
Lead singer stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, and I just watching it kind of like transpire, this entire metamorphosis, if you want to call it that. I mean, it's been really awesome watching you kind of because it's a monster, really. Like when that tidal wave comes in and you hop on it and it takes you back out, you come back a different person one way or the other. And I see, and everybody goes through these ups and downs and highs and lows, and that's life. But because it's in rock and roll or it's on the road and all that kind of stuff, the highs and the lows are so much more like boom, bang, boom. And but you're here and you're like, in a lot of ways, like I say, it's inspiring to watch you. You're healthier than ever. Like you seem stronger than ever. And I'm like, and like I say, I've been paying a lot of attention to you. You've been sharing with me music you've been working on, and it's like, it's inspiring to see, like you say, sitting on the couch. It took me, you're like me, it took me a while because I'm so used to having stuff to do that then all of a sudden one day it was like, so I don't have to do anything? I can just sit on the couch? Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you embrace that way too much. And then eventually that monkey starts jumping on your back again,
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was hard for me because like when I'm out on the road with Death Punch, we are crazy busy the whole time.
Of course.
Completely like overstimulated, a bunch of people around. There's always something going on. So when I would come home, I would just like not want to be with anybody. Just lay here, enjoy my house, decompress, give myself the time to reset to get back out on the road. Now, when the road's taken away, I continued to do nothing.
Yeah. Decompress.
Oh yeah, I was way decompressed. Decompressed into depressed.
Yeah.
But like I definitely at some point I was like, all right, I don't know how long this is going to last. I'm rotten here on the couch right now. I mean, I was still hitting the gym and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
But just like, yeah, I had lost purpose.
Right.
You put so much attachment to what you do for a living when you're, in a band like Five Finger Death Punch. That's your identity. When I was a bartender, once I was done bartending, I wasn't Chris from the Hard Rock anymore. I was just Chris.
Yeah.
I walk out the door now, I'm always Chris KAEL. So
yeah, which is a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have to be. You've really been able to kind of like, because you're so identifiable. Like I said before all this Five Finger Death Punch stuff, you were identifiable as Chris then. You know what I mean? Like we saw the potential in you, and the image is not something you cultivated because you're in Five Finger Death Punch. You've always kind of looked like this as long as I've known you. So.
Oh yeah, I had cut my beard 2 days before I found Death Punch was looking for a bassist. I was like, of course, I just cut my beard for a stupid job. But it worked out pretty good. As soon as I got the gig, I was like, the beard's coming back.
Yeah, of course. I remember when you trimmed it off.
It's almost there, man. It's almost there.
Man, oh man. There's more hair there than there is here. That's what's, it's.
Yeah, girls are always like, man, your hair is longer than mine. Sorry. Yeah, so like I had to get back to finding some drive and some purpose, and with all the other stuff I was going through. I remember when I first was getting ready to get sober, one of the reasons I didn't want to get sober was like, oh man, I'm gonna lose my creativity. I'm not gonna be able to do this anymore.
Right.
And at some point I looked at it and I was like, dude, you haven't written anything for like 5 years. What are you worried about? Like, yeah, I'd gotten comfortable with, the Death Punch thing. And it was like, okay, the songs are there. I'll just go play live and do my thing there. But the first song that I wrote, it's a song called Cave as a Slave. I shared that one with you as well.
Yeah, great.
That one kind of like sparked something in me where I was like, oh, fuck, like I still got it. And here in sobriety, easily writing the best stuff that I've ever written.
That's great.
I feel like, half the time, I think I've got 8 songs right now. And again, right now it's just kind of a therapeutic thing, just to keep me from rotting here on the couch. This is the first time, my ex-wife, Natalie, this is the first time in 26 years, probably, I've been alone.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, sitting here in the house and just like, going crazy. So therapeutically, it's been nice to dump everything into writing music and really kind of cleansing everything out through that process. I don't really know where they're gonna go at this point. Obviously, like I would love to have Five Finger Death Punch have these songs. Ivan he loves one of the songs for sure, and was like, dude, when you do this one, I want to sing on it. I was like, fuck singing on it.
Sing it. yeah.
Sing it, man.
But you're not alone. I mean, this has been going on since the beginning of, as far back as I can remember, like guys like, becoming sober and having the fear of like, is that going to take away my creativity? Because so much was done. I was just listening to Bootsy Collins talk to Mark Maron, and they were talking about P-Funk and like LSD and all that kind of stuff. And Maron's like, well, yeah, I can hear it in the music. And you kind of think to yourself, well, are you able to create music? Because you become a different person. I mean, when you're, the sober guy is different. It's, it's not really a Jekyll and Hyde, but it can be. And, but
it was for me.
Well, exactly. I mean, it certainly has those elements, but I mean, like the creative aspect, like you say, and then you have that moment with yourself, that reflective moment where, have you really been that creative while you were like indulging? I mean, and you kind of have to tell yourself, well, no, I haven't. So then, but often when you kind of like cleanse that thing and there's a whole, like, it's as if you're like, the door is open and everything just kind of comes a lot easier that way, I think, anyway.
It's been crazy. Like half the stuff that I'm writing, I don't even feel like it's me writing it. I feel like I'm simply a conduit and it just kind of comes through. I don't know how many songs have come from me waking up from a dead sleep, hearing a riff and having to go directly to the guitar to transcribe it and save it on like notes. I'm not even like Pro Tools at home. I record it on notes and then take it to Tristan over at the Hideout and we put it all together. But it's like when when you have your shit together finally,
Yeah.
which I hope I do.
Yeah.
And you have like the spiritual, the emotional, everything. That whole thing is just kind of flowing. Been great stuff coming out of me. So hopefully we'll get out there and see the light of day. I'm definitely leaking it on Instagram videos and stuff to give you guys a little taste of it. But yeah, and
I
then
think
people that you know me, I've shared it with you guys.
Yeah, I know. It's really exciting. Like I say, it's inspiring because I've been in a similar position where, with that sort of like that love affair, the three-way between the couch TV and me was like hot and heavy for a while. And then it was sort of like, then the phone starts ringing and you start getting creative and guys are sending files over and that just sort of, it just got everything kind of pumping. And it's been a really important time. And I think you bring up an interesting point about that. I've always talked about this because I really think it's important. I spent a lot of time alone, even though you're never really alone, especially on the road. You know what I mean? Like when you may not be in a relationship, but I used to say there was a line from a song that I wrote once that said, never alone, but ever lonely. You're kind of like, it's kind of like you just feel like but you kind of have those relationship-y kind of things missing. But I think it's important once in a while, and I don't know where you're at with this, but that idea of being alone and being accustomed to, somebody once said to me, you need to figure out where you're going before you figure out who's going with you. And I think that always kind of stuck with me as like, because a lot of us, we become addicted, in multiple things in life, but you can become very addicted to not being alone and then kind of having to kind of attach to somebody and not feeling like complete unless you're able to kind of like, to attach to that person. And I think, but I think that's, wherever you go from here, I think that time alone, and not necessarily, I don't mean you probably should have been, stuck in lockdown for multiple months and all that kind of stuff alone. That starts to get a bit dangerous or a bit extreme, I think. But it does help you kind of really figure out where you want to be in life, what you want to do, and then kind of go, okay, now how does this work in the bigger picture, with adding the other pieces to my life? Because you're still a relatively young man, my friend. You got years ahead of you,
Oh yeah. I think yesterday or the day before was the first time that I was walking down the stairs right over here and just kind of looked at the house and I was like, being alone, not too bad. I ain't got to act with nobody. I don't have to entertain anyone. I don't want to do shit that day. I ain't got to do shit that day. I have my guitar and my amp right here in the living room. I'm actually getting ready to take the dining room table out, move it over in front of the window over here, and I'm getting an electronic drum kit. Nice. I'm fucking setting up a jam room right here in the dining room. Like, I'm living the dream as a 15-year-old. You have your own jam room and you have friends come over. That's been something that's I realized I was really missing too, is just playing music with other people. I've been doing that since I was 15. So a little over 20 years later, that had been taken away from me, and I felt empty. So one day I was sitting here on the couch after having written some of these songs. I'm like, I need to get with people and just play again. So I put up a message on Facebook like, hey man, if anybody's looking to I was just looking for friends to jam and that whole thing, and I got fucking flooded with requests. I was like, delete. Nope, too much. So my circle's big. I got a lot of friends here in Vegas.
Yeah, of course.
Tons of musicians. So I'm getting some dudes that I've been friends with for a little while, and just playing here in the living room.
And
that's getting back and vibing with friends. I want to get back to the vibe of back when I was in Kentucky, playing in my parents' attic, taking the RAV, or it wasn't a RAV4, what was it? I had a Geo tracker. Nice. Put my amp in the back of that, go play shows. I just want like that fun kind of like friend vibe and just get in here and just play for, whatever reason, get back to actually playing and just
of course
reconnecting with that spirit from forever ago.
We got to go backwards on this too, because I was talking to Dave Ellefson, our friend, from Megadeth, and he's one of the guys that I stop every once in a while and I go, dude, I was obsessed with, Rust in Peace and Peace Sells, with those records as a kid. And now we know these guys, and he says, I'm coming to town. Me and KAEL are gonna, get a drink or whatever. You want to hang out? I'm like, oh, dude, I'm in LA or whatever. Didn't work out. And I was like, and I thought to myself, I don't know how you feel about this, but that's the way I always kind of feel when these numbers pop up in my phone and I go, oh, Dave Ellefson's calling me. Wow. It's always a trip. So, but I love when I heard Ellefson and KAEL having a coffee or having a meal or whatever. I go, yeah, those two guys should be, those two guys should be hanging out. Those guys, they seem like, and I think that really is a nod to my respect for, the process you've been through and the achievement of going on. And like you said, we knew you from just being a friend of ours and getting up and jamming and always knowing you had that X factor, that quality. And then watching you go on to play stadiums and hockey arenas and all that kind of stuff and being uber comfortable at it and like being able to really kind of figure out how to, just to be yourself, but be able to turn that into this thing,
Yeah.
So when I see you kind of like, suddenly, paralleled with guys like Ellefson and those kind of guys, it makes me really proud. It makes me proud to know you.
Parallel to Dave Ellefson.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, Will, I don't know about you, but I always look at Dave and like, we all been very fortunate and yourself, doing in your travels, we got to know some super crazy people and it's, it's never lost on me, but it really warms my heart to see you kind of like, going toe to toe with these guys and them having mass respect for you as a player. Because when I started doing this, for whatever reason, it was Ellefson, Frank Bello from Anthrax, Duff McKagan, Glenn Hughes. So I kind of started falling down this road of like other bass players that I know. I'm harassing Mike Inez. So I said, I got to call KAEL on this because, you were one of the first guys I talked to about a long time ago. And then we just sort of, we have busy lives. So I'm very curious to know. Exactly. I'm very curious to know. So you're in Kentucky. Where in Kentucky?
I grew up in Lexington.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's a proper city. You're like, we're talking like, you have a scene per se. Like what kind of like music scene was there?
I got to a point where I was very much like the big fish in a little pond.
Sure.
I was in a few bands back that way. Started playing in high school, went through college, continued playing music. And,
you got a college education?
What is that?
You have a college education?
I actually, I went to college. I was studying to be an elementary school teacher.
Wow.
I wanted to be, because I always wanted to be like the positive male role model. You got kids growing up in single family houses.
Dude, that was the only other thing I ever considered was being a teacher. Because there's also a performing aspect to it. You know what I mean? Like, I always thought it was interesting, like when you had a good teacher, because you always knew that teacher who's been doing this year in, year out, this is that is this. But that one guy who can really sell whatever, because most things that teachers are teaching you are not that interesting. But if they can sell it, it's all about showmanship and salesmanship. And I think you'd kill at that. But it's really interesting to hear you say that.
I was well on my way until I got to the parent-teacher conferences. And I was like, not into this. Like, you expect me to, all the stuff that you fucked up at home, you want me to correct? No, I'm good. So I got out of that, decided to move out here to Vegas. Yeah. And I was going to go to LA originally. But when me and Natalie back then, we flew into Vegas. And she loved Vegas. She's like, oh my God, this is where I want to be. Like, slow down. Like, we're trying to get to LA, trying to do the whole music thing.
4 more hours that way.
Yeah, I went to LA and I was like, I would have to work all the time to be able to afford to live there.
Yeah.
It turned out real well for me because Death Punch had moved from LA to Vegas, which is where they found me.
Yeah.
And because of knowing you and Brent Fitz, the whole Canadian mafia of musicians out there.
Yeah. Jason Hook and all those guys.
Drop those names with Jason Hook when I first joined, and that's kind of what got me in the door. It's like, oh, okay, he knows these dudes. Those dudes have seen him play. All right, let's give him a shot. So,
well, when it first came up, I was like, that's a no-brainer. Chris, and that was when it first became apparent that position was available. I was like, oh, Chris has to. They should just get Chris. To me, it was like a no-brainer, and it was like the correct decision overall. But going backwards to like what was it what bands were the ones that made you go, yeah, I think I want to do this? You know what I mean? Like, there's always that spark. That kind of like.
There's several different bands along the way that kind of molded my musical direction. Kiss,
of course,
huge right from the get-go. I saw Gene Simmons on a show called 3-2-1 Contact. When they were talking about like the road crew and whatnot. And
it's right here, dude. It's right there. Okay.
Not here, but yep. policy.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Speaking over the sock there.
That's way more of a commitment than that. I'll give you
Yeah.
that.
That was more expensive though.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
So Gene Simmons, just like I saw that and I was like, I don't know what he's doing, but whatever that is, that's what I want to do.
And that is is that also the bass guitar was sort of an interesting, is that part of the Gene Simmons experience, or was that still kind of like forming?
Actually, when I grew up, my mom wanted me to play in like the high school band and all that stuff and be able to go on, football trips and play with the marching band or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I started off playing clarinet, but I always knew that I wanted to play. I thought it was guitar at first is what I wanted to play. My uncle gave me a guitar to kind of learn on a little bit, and I had it for a few weeks, and I was like, this is not it. I'm not feeling it. And then a friend of mine, his older brother down the street had a bass and a bass amp, and I went over there and I hit that, and I was like, oh, cool. That's what I've been looking for. Just the vibe. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. I just felt that vibration, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. So, yeah, I think in junior high, I was listening to like, Def Leppard, Poison, stuff like that. And,
sure. Yeah.
Motley Crue was huge for me. And I was like, I cannot sing like those dudes. That's not going to happen. That's not my voice. And then I heard James Hetfield from Metallica. Sure. And I was like, I can do that. He inspired me to kind of start singing a little bit. And I've kind of taken it from there and do my own thing now. Death Punch, actually, we just had the song Broken World came out over the break as well. And that was like my first chance where I got to do lead vocals on there.
I know. Yeah. It's so great to see you doing the Glenn Hughes to his David Coverdale, or however you want to, the Gene to his Paul, that kind of thing. I mean, like.
Exactly. So so, being able to back up Ivan out there and just watching him, I mean, that dude pitch perfect all the time, incredible voice. So to be able to kind of back him up out there, and like my voice is actually what got me the gig with Death Punch, because they were looking for somebody to back up Ivan and do harmonies and sing along with that.
Yeah.
And I've always been very confident in that. And even like on the break, it's gotten even better, honestly, because I've been recording songs here. I've been playing a lot of guitar, actually, just writing. I feel like everything kind of, it's given me an opportunity to become better as a player, better as a singer, really comfortable in my voice.
Right.
Pushing things. I feel like I've got a unique voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the stuff that I'm doing. So.
And is that one of those things too? Like, so when you found Metallica and I assume like Pantera or any of the kind of like the harder stuff, did that become home to you? That became kind of like you started going down that road. Like that's me.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I loved Motley Crue.
I've seen your Striper T-shirt. Don't try and lie.
Yes. Box out there. I think it was probably Slayer that really turned it for me. Like Metallica, I enjoyed that a lot. They were one of my favorite bands, still are. But something about the aggression and like the dark, evil stuff from Slayer, I was like, that's it. I was actually that poser that had a Slayer shirt before I'd actually heard Slayer, because I liked the logo.
Hey, you weren't the first. There, you won't be the last. Trust me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very Kardashian of me, right?
Yeah. But that
the next phase for me, going from Slayer, became death metal, like Obituaries. First time I heard Obituary, I was like, you don't even have to sing. You just fucking yell and you sound evil and it's great. So that kind of changed music things for me, between the progression from, Poison to Slayer to Obituary, Napalm Death, Cannibal Corpse, that kind of stuff.
But it is funny because there's always those gateway drugs, like, whether it's Poison or Def Leppard or any of the guitar rock that you hear, and you're just a kid and you hear a crunchy guitar and a fast guitar solo, and you go, I want to do that. And then it sort of like leads you to who you actually are. So in reality, things like Kiss are still very much a part of who you are. I mean, when I watch you guys play, it's like I still see the elements of that kind of thing in the band, even though, it's not really. But I mean, in your ability to be a showman and all that kind of stuff is clearly in you. It's always been in you.
Watching Gene so much, I do the tongue all the time. Just can't help it. I can't help it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then I also grew up listening to a lot of like hardcore and punk music and stuff. Was big on the Misfits, Minor Threat, Bad Religion. They kind of like started me between Bad Religion and Alice in Chains. That were the two that kind of showed me I could do harmonies as well, and kind of went from there. So
big time.
A lot of different stuff out there, kind of molding what you have today.
What you, it all just kind of falls into place and becomes Chris KAEL, which I think is awesome. So at what point do you, you know, like, do you, when you sit, how long were you in Vegas before this happened? Before Death Punch happened?
Probably 10 years, roughly.
That long?
I think so. It was right
Really?
at 10 years. If not 10 years, 9. It was pretty close. I was actually getting ready to give up on everything. Like I played with you guys out on the Sin City Centers, and that was fun. And I played with other bands that did some regional touring, but really hadn't gotten to where I kind of always thought I was going to be, but just never got there.
Yeah.
The inside voice always told me, just be patient. It's coming.
Yeah.
Be ready. Be ready. I always heard that since forever ago.
Yeah.
And I was working at the Cosmopolitan. I cut my beard off to get a bartending job there. Was making good money and decided, all right, maybe the music dream is not going to work out. I've already done everything I wanted to do. I have this good job. Natalie and I wanted to open up like a small 6 or 8 room hotel on the beach down in Belize with like a beachfront bar. And I was like, okay, I'm making good money. I can put this aside and do that. So I put basses on Craigslist, amps on Craigslist. I was giving it all away, selling it.
Wow.
And then one night I went to go see System of a Down at the Palms. And I used to always do this thing where I would look at the band and look at the crowd and be like, oh, someday that crowd is going to be mine. That night, back when I was drinking half liquored up on Crown Royal, the boys was like, motherfucker, you haven't gone after this one. I found out Death Punch was looking for a bass player about 6 months before that, and just never heard anything from them. Yeah, I knew they were doing the American Capitalist record, and they were going to do the record first and then find a bass player. But I didn't know that. I figured, hell, it's been 6 months. They've already got a guy.
Sure.
So like, okay, but I hadn't gone after it. The voice told me, you haven't gone after this. You've gone through mutual friends, but you haven't gone directly after it. So I cold called Jason Hook on Facebook, direct message. I slid into Jason Hook's DMs. And the most life-changing entering into DMs that's ever been happened was right there. Because he got back to me the next day and was like, this is like, this is very me. When I sent him the message, I was like, hey, I hear you're looking for a bass player. Look no further. I'm your guy. Check your mutual friends. You, Brent. I'm sure they'll all give me a positive recommendation.
Right.
I'm just looking for an audition. That's it. And Jason got back to me and was like, that's very forward, but I like it. And I asked him how my vocals were. And I was in a band back in Kentucky where I had written all the music and was singing and playing bass. So I sent him that, and they liked it and got me the audition. And here I am hanging out with you, Todd.
I mean, but that's what's, I think, the biggest lesson to learn out of all this, and a lot of what I try and do when I'm talking to my friends like this, is hopefully reaching that kid in like Des Moines or Kentucky, you know what I mean, who wants to do this and goes, and I think that's sort of like that 10,000 hours conversation, the preparation that even though you were here for 10 years, you know, kind of like, you know, you got to go to the dojo and learn how to do your thing before, because when the opportunity presents itself, you need to be able to throw down. You can't just show up and go like, don't worry, I'll be good. It's like, no, you got to be good. You got to be like Five Finger Death Punch ready.
Good's not good enough.
No.
You got to be great, and you got to know what you're bringing to the table is valuable, and you have something to offer them. Not be like, oh God, please, can you please give me the gig? No one wants to see that. Walk in there. Our old security guy, Case, actually called me right before I was going to the audition. He's like, dude, everybody's walking in there stiff, no personality, doing nothing. And I'm like, I fucking got this. You were talking about the 10,000 hour rule. Like when I saw Kiss, I had a wiffle ball bat and I would listen to Kiss Alive 2 and just get my stage moves down and all that stuff. I did that long before I ever picked up a guitar. So I had 30,000 hours of performance time before I actually picked up and learned the bass. And like, nobody cares about bass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the beard is Beyonce and you are just like Destiny's Child. Really. That's, you know.
Exactly. I'm in love with the beard, man. I'm shaking my beard for the art of Five Finger Death Punch, man.
I appreciate that. No, but I think you're right because the, you know, opportunities come and go and you have to chase down opportunities. But at the same time, if you're not ready for that opportunity, I mean, I apply it to some degree in fighting because I don't have any skill in fighting, but I know that I spent a gazillion hours playing every shitty club on the planet and being able to know how to kind of talk to the audience, how to play to an audience, how to work, and so that when the opportunity presents itself, whether it's 20 people or 20,000 people, I'm going to entertain, and that's what I do. And I saw that in you from those early days. Like I said, your charisma was more than apparent. It wasn't some sort of like, everything's an act. You know what I mean? Like everybody, we have our, we're quiet, regular dudes, and then it's kind of like the switch goes on and you go on stage. Exactly. And that's part of the Bruce Banner Hulk kind of thing that goes on, especially within yourself. Although you seem more Hulk and then more extra Hulk kind of thing is what happens.
Exactly. I try to be. I try to be. A pivotal moment in my development musically was there was a band from Kentucky called 9 Pound Hammer.
I remember that band.
It was like cowpunk, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember distinctly, like I just started playing. As soon as I started playing, I wanted to be in a band. I didn't care about learning. I just wanted to go play music and do that. So Blaine, the guitarist, I remember being at the Rockledge in Lexington. It was like the all ages venue. Every Sunday they had all ages shows. I went to every single one. Right. And Blaine was on stage and gave like this motivational speech, like, if I can do this, you can do this too. And that night I went home and started calling my friends that I also knew played and started my first band. That
it was worth 1,000. Was worth 1,000 Anthony Robbins, things. They're right there. It's just like boom, exactly. Blaine.
Yeah.
Who went on to be Nashville Pussy and everything else. Yeah.
He was my Joel Osteen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think he's been a lot of people's. Frankly, I think that but I think that there's something really, really awesome to be said about that. And like I say, it's knowing you as a dude and just from a guy I respected around town who just had that X factor, and to watch you kind of slide right into that thing. And in my opinion, I love those guys. I've always loved those guys. They've been on an upward trajectory. They don't need any help from me. But when you came in, it seemed to really solidify this kind of, like a band is literally 5 fingers in a fist. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you take any of those fingers away and things aren't quite as strong. So I wanted to see you kind of step into that lineup. It really sort of solidified everything.
Yeah, it felt really comfortable right from the get-go. Like I said, I was very confident in like my performance side of things. I had been playing forever, so I was comfortable with the musicality, my musicianship. I was cool with that. Very confident in the voice. Just all those years of, like you said, playing just to other bands and their girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly.
That's if they stuck around to watch. Yeah. But just all those years kind of culminated in that one moment where I decided I'm going after this. No one's going to give it to me. I got to go get it. And that was the moment with all that practice behind me and the confidence to kind of go in, while also the humility to walk in and not be like, oh, I'm the fucking cool, like whatever. Like, I showed what I had without, exactly. It's a delicate balance,
It is, yeah.
At that point, they had already had 2 records. Both have gone gold already.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do? Live.
Well, I mean, it would be different if you joined and then it suddenly stepped down, but that did not happen. I mean, no. you came in and it was already kind of like, and it just keeps going. I mean, it's an impressive thing to witness.
You start getting all the right elements, everything just kind of, blows up and goes good. So
I love it. I mean, to me, it's really inspiring. And so talk about, if you don't mind, with the new record. The record just came out in 2020, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of tours have been like completely postponed? Or I mean, it sucks because it's like you had a very busy year planned.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been. We were supposed to tour. My last show that I played was in Sofia, Bulgaria. With us, Megadeth, and I think Bad Wolves was on there, but I think they might have dropped off before that. I can't remember.
What a bill, man!
Yeah, with us and Megadeth. So like you're like, yes, this is great, Sofia, Bulgaria. This is where they recorded the Big Four live DVD. This is great. Yes, I'm excited. And then you come home, and we were just ahead of the curve of all the COVID stuff that was happening. I know Italy like blew up like the week after we were there, and it was the smallest place that we played there. I remember it being really hot, really sweaty, and I was just like, oh, everybody is in me right now. This sucks. And then as soon as I heard COVID, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
We're all getting it. We were
Yeah.
there, and just happened to stay just ahead of the curve the whole time. Came home. F8 was released in, I believe, March. So it was right after we got back home. Had a tour planned for what, April, May, I think it was.
Right.
And, everything started blowing up at that point. You had to go into quarantine. So we postponed that one with the hope that by September, October, November, things would kind of die down and they figure it out and go from there. At that point, we actually had to cancel that tour. And just kind of, we've been staying busy doing some like some YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Like going over old videos, kind of watching that, and just trying to be entertaining with what we can do. We've done a couple of. We did the Living the Dream video.
Yeah.
When they had a little bit of like a lull in all the restrictions in California. Got in just in that window, and then back out. We were supposed to do another video, but California is completely locked down and all that stuff, so we weren't able to do that. But yeah, just kind of to have my favorite record that Death Punch has ever done, and be like, we'll get to it. We'll come tour whenever this happens. So it's been, there's been a bunch of bands that release stuff and haven't been able to tour on it. So I'm just looking forward to, whatever the new normal is going to be. I just want to get, like, I don't even give a damn if the vaccine doesn't work. Just make people safe and let us get back out,
That's exactly, that's kind of where my head's at too. It's like, just make everything back to the way it was so we can all go back and do what we do. Because I don't know what you, but it's sort of, in a way, it's sort of, I've been calling this retirement practice. I'm sure people are tired of me hearing that joke, but it feels like after a while, I kind of feel like this isn't so bad. I think, because I've been that guy to the end. I'm going to be Keith Richards. I'm going to die on stage. I'm going to, and then all of a sudden I thought to myself, maybe I'll just fade away and be like puttering in the garden. So I learn shuffleboard. Me and Chris KAEL will play shuffleboard and no one will ever hear of us again. But
I'm not a shuffleboard guy.
I'm not a sports guy, let alone shuffleboard.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting thing about it is I say that, and I know that as soon as the bat signal goes up in the sky, you just go, "Yup," put on the bat suit, and you're gone. And it's like, because it's what you do. It's not what you do. It's who you are. And I know that's who you are. Yeah.
Like, one of the things that was able to help me throughout this whole thing is I sell a bass package. That's like, I play the bass on stage.
Yeah.
After the show, if you bought it, I meet you, give you the bass, do that whole signing.
That's so
when COVID hit, I was like, I think I had 14 sold for one tour. I was like, I'm gonna have to give refunds on $28,000 worth of basses.
Wow.
Like, I'm doing okay, but
yeah.
Didn't have that.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm not the new guy in Death Punch anymore, but I'm still the new guy.
Yeah. And, You're the Ronnie Wood of Five Million About, where you're still the new guy, like 10 years, but like literally 9 years now, isn't it? Or almost 10 years.
Exactly. Yeah. In 9 years. Yeah. So like, luckily we postponed the tour. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't have the other refunds. I'll keep on doing that. And then I think on Sunday, I had my girlfriend, asked her to move out of the house. So she moved out. The next day, I started getting emails looking for refunds. I didn't realize we had actually canceled the tour. And I was getting emails looking for refunds. And I was like, what the fuck? So everything hit me all at one time. And I was like, all right, today, fuck this. I'm changing this. I decided at that point, put up a little post on the social networks. Hey, the bases that are available right now, you're going to want to pick those up. Something special is getting announced tomorrow. So I decided, Chris KAEL, to become KAEL Claus, Santa KAEL. And I've been like personally delivering those bases to people that have bought the bases, and just flying out, doing a little, like, 4 bases at a time or whatever. And like, as soon as I announced it, people were like, oh my God, thank you for giving us something to look forward to. Totally. Little did I know it was going to help me as well, because I got to get back out and interact and do what I do. I love hanging out with the fans and interacting and, kind of just being me, basically.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
out there and being able to kind of interact. And, without that, I would probably still be in my head in here a little bit. And it's definitely helped me as well. So yeah, I think I've got, actually, hold on. Let me count real quick. Hold on.
Go ahead. I'm gonna stare at your painting behind you. Whose painting who painted that painting?
Back of bases that I still have in the other room, but I'm a single dude living by myself, and that room's a little messy right now. So gotta keep the image alive, you know?
No, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, it's like, well, that's really cool. I think it's a really great idea, and I think you bring up a good point that, it's funny because so many people get really dark about it. Like gigs aren't coming back till 2022, and they just get real. And I'm like, I'm always the cup is half full. I mean, I'm shocked that it's December. Well, by the time people watch it, it'll be January. But it's sort of that 2020 will have gone completely by. I was the one still saying in mid towards the end of the summer, I thought for sure things would have kind of come back to some degree. But I'm still quite positive that the most important thing, and I think you could probably attest to this as well, as you've actually been out there rubbing shoulders with your people, is the idea that when things do bounce back, that people are going to be super psyched to be seeing rock and roll again. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be like, wherever you live, there's going to be 5 amazing shows in town that night because the traffic is going to be on fire as soon as there's going to be 5. Which band do I go see? 5 of my favorite bands are in town tonight.
Exactly. That's one of those things that like I'm very proud of this band because we've always brought like ridiculous live shows. We want to bring like hell, fire, and brimstone, lights, great music. And if you miss that show, we want you to hear about it the next day and be like, fuck. Yeah. I'm not missing it next time. So
exactly,
the fans know what they're going to get out of us. We haven't done any of the live stream stuff because like kudos to all those guys like Code Orange. I love those dudes. Sure. And they really did a great job with the live stream. I got the Mr. Bungle live stream on Halloween, so I love all that stuff.
Sure.
But for us, we are a band that worships at the throne of Kiss, Iron Maiden, Rammstein. I want to bring that big live show. Don't want you to have to watch it right here from the computer screen. We want.
I know what you mean.
A full event. Yeah. So we've held off on doing that kind of stuff with the anticipation of we know what the fuck we're bringing once this is over.
And of course,
the anticipation's there, and don't want it to be from the screen. We want a full kind of bombastic experience again. So.
I know what you mean. Even though sometimes it's really cool to see the guys in Kiss jam in their regular clothes in the rehearsal space. You're kind of looking behind the curtain, like, isn't this cool? But at the same time, it's kind of like, like you say, the best way to experience a Five Finger Death Punch show is in the middle of thousands and thousands of people and having your ears blown out, and your eyebrows burnt off.
That's what all the social network stuff is for. That's where your connection comes through. You see me out there riding a motorcycle, going hiking, bitching about my ex-girlfriend, all kinds of stuff. It's all on there.
I appreciate that. But I think it's such a great story. And that's why one of the biggest reasons I want to talk to you is because the fact that you came to Vegas, and for whatever reason, it was just that manifest destiny of just sort of like, you didn't have to leave. You kind of were here, and this thing materialized in Vegas. It just kind of like the fact that, are all the guys in Vegas now? Like, is everybody, is all 5 guys?
Me, Zoltan, and Ivan, we all live here. Ivan kind of bounces back and forth. He's got a couple of different places.
Right.
But then Charlie's up in Wisconsin, and Andy James is over in
England. That's right. Yeah. Wow.
But we text all the time. It's one of those things where you're able to stay connected.
Yeah.
Text messages, video messages. Ivan hardly ever texts. He always does videos and send it to us. So it's being able to see his face. He did a really funny video on Instagram the other day where he was talking about how he missed the backstage experience. And he went through acting like different rooms in his house were the dressing rooms. And I was like, yep, he does all that stuff every night, about an hour before we go on. Comes and checks in the dressing rooms and says hi.
Amazing.
So,
that's
it was cool to see him doing that. It was fun. Nice little backstage perspective. And for me to be like, yep, that's really how it happens back there.
That's great. That's great. Well, I won't keep you much longer, but it's been really fun because, my being in Vegas, my first trips down here were around 2003, but I kind of put roots down in the end of 2006, I guess, was sort of so it's 14 years basically. When did you come down?
I want to say 2002, I think it was.
Oh, was it that long ago? Wow.
Yeah, 2002 is when I moved out here. Yeah, chasing the dream at that point, and luckily caught it. You were talking about all the stuff that had to happen. Even crazier, a dude that I grew up with in Kentucky, a guy named Saul, was Jeremy's drum tech.
Wow.
At that point. I knew him for at least 20 years at that point. I was like, dude, get me an audition. So yeah, it just all kind of came together at that point, you know?
Crazy. But so being in Vegas since 2002, you have seen lots of changes in this town. I mean, because it's in the time I've been in this town, witnessing whether it's City Center or the introduction of the Vegas Golden Knights, the Raiders. It's like, I mean, exactly, yeah. I think it's fascinating to me as a Canadian. You're wearing an Ian Bagg T-shirt. We got to point that out. Ian Bagg is a good friend of ours.
I'm nearly Canadian at this point.
Yeah, you're pretty much Canadian.
As long as you're a nice guy, automatically Canadian.
Usually. Yeah, that's usually the case. But no, I mean, one day it was like, no one really, I don't think really anybody thought about hockey in Las Vegas. And then the next day, it seemed like that logo is everywhere. Like it's like on all the cars and the T-shirts and hats are everywhere. And I'm like, it was really cool to see it like kind of galvanize a city and really kind of create an identity in a funny way. Because I mean, it was, of course, around the shootings that occurred, it was just horrifying. And it was just, it's been a really interesting thing to really kind of say to yourself, because I don't know about you, but I would have these experiences where I would go back to Vancouver, and initially you're going home. I'm going to Vancouver, I'm going home. I got to go back to Vegas to do whatever I'm doing. I'm going home. And then one day you kind of realize that neither are home anymore. And then one day you realize you land at Las Vegas airport and you go, oh, it's good to be home. And you go, wait a second, this is really weird. And then all of a sudden, Vegas is home. So when things like the shootings happen and all that kind of stuff, it really hits you. It hits you hard, and you know that you are a Las Vegan. And I've had every opportunity, and I'm only bringing this up as a fellow Vegas guy, as a transplant like yourself. Nashville or Los Angeles or New York City to some degree, or Paris or London. When all these things start to present themselves, because the world gets a lot smaller when you travel the way you and I do. You're kind of like, that cool coffee shop in Berlin you like to go to, or, or Bulgaria or whatever. And then one day you kind of realize, but Vegas is awesome. Like, I really love the small town. There's a small town thing, but if I want to go bananas, it's just over there. I just drive over there, and it's the craziest. Yeah. It's tucked over.
Just down the road.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's not that crazy, but I think as a fellow Las Vegan, it's been really cool to watch the city grow. And then with the advent of the introduction of the Raiders, has sort of like, and there's this gigantic football stadium that we drive by every day and go like, when am I going to get to go here? Like, it's like COVID happens and just shuts down that opportunity entirely. I'm sure you guys might end up playing that damn place, man.
I'm hoping so. I hope that that happens at some point, to be big enough to play that damn thing.
Well, if you need,
please let it happen.
if your base tech needs an assistant that night, let me know. I'd love to come by and just kind of hang.
I'll hire you for a beard tech because your hair looks amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Going back to the hockey stuff, like, I'm from Kentucky and I'm a huge college basketball fan. So when we got hockey, I was like, it's the desert. Who gives a fuck about hockey? Can we get a football team, please?
I know.
And I got invited to the first preseason game at T-Mobile Arena, and
who were they playing?
This happened, and Derek England gave this like moving speech while I was there, and like I was listening to the speech, and I was like, don't do it. Ah, damn it, Derek, you got me. And then like the team came out and like scored 3 goals right out of the gate, and I was like, holy fuck, this is great. It was really my first introduction into hockey. And just with the Knights, Vegas has always been a transient town where, you come in, you make your money, and you go. You don't really establish any roots. But because of the shootings and because of the Knights coming to town, everything, we all rallied around each other. And it was the first time that I'd felt like a sense of community in Vegas.
Absolutely.
You'd see somebody with the Golden Knights shirt on, be like, yeah, you were able to bond and identify with each other, just like the metal community. You see somebody with a Slayer shirt on, you're like, yeah,
totally.
I get you. There's that bond.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge fan. Obviously, I got the logo tattooed on here, so I can't ever get a real job anymore. Tattoo on the hand.
We can work for the Knights.
There we go. Exactly. Call me. Yeah. So like that changed for me, and like, I haven't really paid that much attention to the Raiders because there's so much other stuff going on. I know we're doing pretty good as far as I know, but I do drive by the stadium quite often.
Well, if it was happening and it was a regular occurrence and we could go see a game, I'm sure we would all be a part of that. But it's been fascinating watching, a city that has has so much going on that no one ever thought we should have a national sports team here. It's like the fact that there's like rumblings about a baseball team or rumblings about a basketball team, and you're like, they should have all that stuff here. I mean, how is that not a thing?
Yeah, luckily the Knights were such a success, and like the community rallied around them so much and made them such a success that all the other teams were like, okay, cool, like we should be in Vegas too now. So
well, I think the beauty of it
adds to all the entertainment that we got. I mean, when things are going off, you can do everything any single day out here in Vegas. You can do as much or as little as you want to do. And that's what I like about Vegas.
You said it much more eloquently than I could have. But I mean, you're right. It's like if you want sushi at 3 a.m., you can find sushi at 3 a.m. If you want, whatever you want at 4 a.m., you can do that too. And for guys like me who are, borderline Howard Hughes, I'm shut in most of the time. But then that random time when I go, hey, Sting's coming to town, or whoever, you go, we should go see that. It's like, that's what I love about a town like this is it's as small or as huge as you want it to be. It really, it can be nothing, or it can be literally everything. So that's why you have friends, and I'm sure you have friends, and I have friends that say to me I could not live in Vegas, man. It's just too crazy. And I go, not in Todd's Vegas. Todd's Vegas is pretty chill. But I know your Vegas, my random friend I'm talking about, when you came to Vegas and, you had that crazy, blackout weekend. Yeah, that was a crazy Vegas. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And luckily, like you said, that's way the fuck down there.
Yeah, that's over there. Yeah.
I don't need that anymore.
No,
but
I don't need that. Yeah.
Go down to the strip and get restaurants, shows, concerts, everything. I love it. It's hard being. You get very Vegas centric. You'll go out on the road and.
What do you mean this place is? There's nowhere to eat at 11 p.m. There's no pizza. It's like
only thing available is the McDonald's over there. That's it. Or Taco Bell super late at night. So 100%. You definitely get that. And with the weather too, it's always fairly warm out here. I took a motorcycle ride in March, I think it was, and it was already warm in Vegas, so I didn't bring that much any warm clothes. Went up to Utah, hit this peak, and I was like, what the hell is happening here? Coldest I've ever been. It was terrible.
Oh, I know. We get really spoiled out here because it's hilarious being Canadian because I'm literally I'm standing outside putting gas in my car today, and I was like, oh my God. Whew. Yeah. And then a friend of mine just sent me a picture from back home, and it's just like Hoth from Empire Strikes Back outside, like just all snow. And I go, oh, I have nothing to cry about here. It's like.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to go back home for Christmas, but decided against it because, I don't want to bring that back to my parents. I've been away from it. They've been away from it. Now that there's a vaccine, that seems to be right there on the horizon, things might be changing. I can't do that. So I'm doing the socially responsible thing and rotting here at home.
I haven't seen my family since last Christmas too. So it's a year. It sucks, but you're right. I'm going to wait till it's the right time to go home for sure. Exactly. But brother, I really appreciate you taking the time because I like I say, I miss hanging out and just being able to rap with yourself and anybody really. I mean, like I said to you today, it's like I'm so excited to talk to you. Other than driving my wife crazy with my ideas of the Mandalorian. It's good. So now I get to just drive Chris crazy just talking about playing the bass guitar in a rock and roll band, which is ultimately one of my favorite things to talk about, as you can see.
I see that back there. Yeah.
Yeah, but all the best. I assume you're like anybody else. I would ask you what the future. So what do you got going on in the future? But I know you're the same as everybody else, waiting to hear what's going to happen so you can finally go out and play and support the goddamn record, which is doing great from what I saw.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure the latest single, but we had the song A Little Bit Off. It stayed at #1 on the rock charts for quite a bit of time.
I know.
Again, my favorite record that we've ever done. And just waiting to get out there and play those songs live for you. But the good thing about this thing is I know I'm trying to enjoy the downtime because once it gets opened back up, we're going to be gone all the time. Every band's going to be gone all the time because, you've been in the house doing nothing other than writing new stuff, getting ready for the next one. And just, I know it's going to be, pedal to the metal, go. So I'm really enjoying just the time to be.
Yeah, when you're complaining to yourself when you're sitting in at the airport or whatever you're getting ready to do in the middle of 7 flights in a row, you're going to remember this very conversation and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, my buddy Zach, he's in a band called The Ghost Inside. I was texting him about going to the airport and going off to do the bases, and he's like, oh man, I never thought that I would miss an overpriced Uber ride to the airport. Yep.
Well said.
Grateful to pay that money, man.
Well said. Well said. I think we're all that way. It's going to be like, oh, like, having like dubious backstage food arrangements. We'll be like, oh, wow, isn't this luxury? And you're like, thank God, bring it on. Yeah. All right, man. Well, it's really great hanging with you. And hopefully we'll be able to hang in person. I'm sure we'll cross paths in the great city of Las Vegas one of these days.
You certainly will. Small city, small circle, but
exactly,
world of opportunity out here. Clearly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're an inspiration, sir. And I wish you all the best.
All right, brother. Good talking to you. All you guys, appreciate you. And we will see you soon. Hopefully sooner than later, but either way, we will be there.
Big love, Daddy-o.
Love you too, man. See you soon.
Peace out.
Later, buddy.